Hello, everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip. I was seeing a lot of stuff about trigger warnings for this movie, and I was like, again, sounds like a douche. I'm like, well, it's in the book. That's one of the first scenes in the book. And granted, it's set in 1986, but I'm also like, I think it's okay to say, hey, by the way, just, everyone, there's a gay bashing scene that opens this movie. It's literally the opening credit sequence. But people are making such a big deal out of it, and if I'm coming across as too insensitive, if I'm coming across as an asshole, and if listeners, if you actually were triggered by that scene in any shape, way, or form, I apologize, and also please comment on this, message us, educate me. I think it's getting blown out of proportion a little bit.
Yeah, I've been intrigued by the reactions as well. In part, if only because you and I have had this conversation offline, but trigger warnings seem to be a big deal for people right now. I just listened to a conversation where people complained about, not getting trigger warnings for rape, not getting trigger warnings for a bunch of other things. And part of this is, I'm not sure what is the responsibility of a filmmaker. I think some people look at it as, oh, well, this is just, a continuation of the social justice warrior snowflake generation where everybody is just so in tune with their feelings and we need a safe space. So I think people sometimes use, they weaponize trigger warnings as a way to say that people have gotten soft and, the world wasn't always like this. But I do think also this is tricky, right? Because I think there's a very determined reason why this particular scene was kept and also why it opens the film. For me, it doesn't bother me because I've seen these kinds of things before. I just watched Mysterious Skin a couple months ago, and if you want to talk about a gay bashing, there ain't nobody in a better business than Mysterious Skin.
That's also rape too. That
it is, yeah.
And it's not like I'm trying to say, a beating up isn't just as bad as a rape, but I guess in my mind, I qualify, I understand trigger warnings for rape a little more than I do for someone getting beat up. And now I know the context of this is, it's a gay bashing, yeah. But I guess, yes, I've seen gay bashings in film, but I've also seen people just get the shit kicked out of them in film, gay or not. So I removed it from that, I guess.
Yeah. I looked at it as this is a scene that contextualizes what Derry still is,
yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. I would argue it's actually one of the few scenes that really interrogates what Derry has been, is what it's been like in the interceding 27 years, because a lot of the time in this film is dedicated exclusively to the Losers Club. We're not really interacting with as many people outside of this main group. Except, once again, the pharmacist and his daughter. But,
who still doesn't die!
Yeah, Jesus. That's disappointing. But
it's terrible.
But I think it's important, because it's a very explicit acknowledgement that the world has changed. So there's front and center queerness right in the opening of this massive blockbuster Hollywood film, people. Let's not forget that. So even though it is terrible representation, it is representation of a different kind. So it's moving the narrative into the present day, but then it's also saying, okay, Derry as a town is not safe for losers, for outsiders, for people who are othered. There's still a danger here, and Pennywise can draw power from that.
I also think, though, not even just Derry, but just for the world in general, because, you've seen people, I don't know what episode we discussed it on, maybe it was the It episode with Michael, where, people were like, the gays have all the rights they need, they should be happy, or the queers, or whatever you want to say.
Jesus, I don't remember that argument, but
okay.
Fuck that bullshit.
No, so there was a tweet that went around, so maybe I talked about someone else there, but, there was a tweet that went around, it went viral a couple of weeks or months ago. And it was, this guy saying, I don't understand why people, why the gays, why the LGBTQ community, are fighting for more rights. They have everything they need. And people are like,
God.
No, I know. People are like, no. So that going back to like the liberal Austin bubble that I'm in, like, granted, like, we still do have, hate crimes, like, it's not super prevalent, but like, so therefore when one happens, like, it's all over the news.
Mm-hmm.
But I think having a scene like that in this movie, in this major blockbuster film that's gonna probably make $90 to $100 million this weekend, is important to show people that no, it's not all okay still. Like, there are still problems.
Get in, losers. This is the Lady Killers, a Feminine Rage podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Sammy.
I'm Rocco.
And I'm May. Our podcast is a tribute to the female-identifying killers in horror and more.
Each episode will feature us, your Supreme Court of female murderers, discussing our favorite lady killers, from your Julias and Jennifers to your Carries and Christines.
We'll tell her story, decide if it's good for her horror, and answer the most important question of all: would we die for her?
Join us on Thursdays as we pull on our sweaters, snatch our ice picks, sharpen our scissors, and honor the lady killers who live on the silver screen.
No boys were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Yet.
It was late in the afternoon when the professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I knew Jonathan was coming.
Jonathan Harker has asked me to note this, as he says he is hardly equal to the task, and he wants an exact record kept.
Dear Madam Mina, I have read your husband's so wonderful diary. Strange and terrible as it is true. I will pledge my life on it.
God preserve my sanity, for to this I am reduced. Safety and the assurance of safety are things of the past.
I am in hopes that I shall see more of you at Castle Dracula.
Listen to Regarding Dracula wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm.